I'm putting this in this upload because even though the canned laughter and Jimmy Kimmel is playing it off like it's not true, Jim Carrey pretty much spilled the beans. Jim Carrey is a firm believer of unidentified flying objects, UAPs. I'm not sure about cryptids, but I know that he is a believer in the paranormal, we'll just say. Pretty much what he just said is what I say every day.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right? Yeah.
What is it?
Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
Oh. I like it.
It's the symbol of the all-mocking tongue. And I'm sick of it. I want everybody to be in on the joke, man. You know what I mean? For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very thought-provoking and terrifying upload to share with you. Before we get into it, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those audiobooks are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken too much of your time. Let's get on with this upload. Shall we? Today I'd like to share with you two cases that are very baffling. I'd also like to put a couple of ideas, or however you want to word it, thoughts, questions, whatever. But I've been sitting here thinking about things. And our news media, like I've stated before, and it is 100% factual, that 80% of our news media comes from big pharma, big oil, banking, and the military-industrial complex. 80% of our news. Where's the other 20% come from? Well, if 80% comes from those four, I don't think the other 20% comes from anywhere good either. So, when the news shares with us a family of 3 and their dog was found dead in Yosemite, and then they put blame on carbon monoxide and toxic algae. How do we trust them? How are we honestly supposed to believe them? To be frank with you, I don't think that we would have known anything about the Jimtown Road incident. I think we would have known about the incidents but I don't think we would have known about the horrifying details of those incidents if a good Samaritan hadn't found Amber. Tony Aarons was found and picked up by the police department and paramedics. Amber was brought into the hospital by a good Samaritan. Both of them were savagely ripped apart, and they want to put that on dogs. A guy who was hiking this year was found down a 300-foot embankment, tore up, and they want to put it on a bear, got behind him and pushed him. They want to put wild dogs on the case that happened in North Carolina. Hogs killed a home health nurse in Texas. How do we believe these people? How do we believe them when they'll lie to us about the smallest of things and the biggest? A couple days ago, we have our president on the news saying everything's fine in Afghanistan, as we know it's not. The COVID vaccine works, as we know. It really doesn't, because 7 people have died in Belgium from the Lambda variant. How are we supposed to believe the government, whether it be local, state, or federal, and the media, when they can't tell us the truth? We just take them at their word. Why? Because that's what we've done for years now, hundreds of years. We take them at their word. They wouldn't lie to us. They have our best interest at heart. Well, how do we know when the news says that this family of 3 was just found dead along with their dog, but doesn't share anything else? How do we know they weren't torn up? Do we just take them for their word? Because honestly, if you think about it, guys, please just take a moment and think about what I'm saying. If you think about how much they lie to us, we would not have known how bad the cases were in Jimtown if a good Samaritan, to be honest, they had to cover their ass at that point. And they placed the blame on, yes, a real scumbag of a guy, but who had no involvement. And then we have, it's just like the whole thing is a fucking lie. We have people that in our media, people in our government, and people that do what I do, that I just want to bring the truth. I don't know what the truth is. I honestly don't know what the truth is. I just want to bring questions out. I want to get you guys to question just as much as I do. I want to have your guys' opinions just as much as you want mine. I want to hear your encounters. I don't want some guy telling me that I know nothing about that this is what happened. And it seems to me that there's a lot of people nowadays doing it. Self-proclaimed experts. I got 2 cases that I want to share with you that are really, really questionable. Just listen to the cases and take the questions that I brought to you guys and place those questions in these cases. Are we supposed to believe the media, and our friend, the government. Because why? They have our best interest at heart, don't they? They've never let us down, have they? Case 1. Sugarbush Township, Minnesota. His face was on a milk carton. If you were a school child sipping milk during the 80s, it's likely you saw the face of 3-year-old Kevin J. Aoyt, who vanished in 1982 from his home in Sugarbush Township. Nearly 40 years since the disappearance of the toddler in north-central Minnesota, his case still leaves law enforcement scratching their heads. The boy's mother, Joanne, went outside briefly, and when she returned, Terry was still inside the home, but Kevin had vanished. The family dog, a 6-month-old Springer Spaniel puppy named Flash, was gone as well. A question that has haunted the small community of Sugarbush in Beltrami County for decades. As part of the Forum News Service Cold Case Services, the Vault, the Bemidji Pioneer recently revised the unsolved case through its archives. The search for Kevin was one of the biggest stories in Bemidji at the time, and it would dominate headlines for more than a week. The last time anyone saw Kevin, it was a crisp fall afternoon, the last day of September in 1982. Kevin Aoyt and his brother Terry were upstairs in their family's home in rural Sugarbush Township, which was isolated and surrounded by thick woods and a bog. Kevin was playing with some toys in his mother's bedroom at 4:45 p.m. as Terry was making his bed, or had biked up the road to a friend's house to play. Law enforcement said that Kevin had apparently wandered off with his pup from the family's home at 5 p.m., and the mother, Joanne, reported the boy missing shortly after 7 on Thursday. A large, many acres for one small boy to be lost. According to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, at the time of his disappearance, Kevin was 4 foot tall, 50 pounds, had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a scar on the right side of his chin. He was also nonverbal and hearing impaired. Kevin, who was born on May 12, 1979, lived with his mother and 2 older brothers about 18 miles east of Bemidji and 10 miles north of U.S. Highway 2 in Sugarbush Township. According to 1980 U.S. Census data, Sugarbush had the population of 121 people in 1980. The township has an area of 31.5 square miles and is surrounded on nearly all sides by Chippewa National Forest, or the Buena Vista State Forest, home to parts of at least 9 lakes. The headline that spanned the top right corner of the Friday, October 1st, 1982 edition of the Pioneer read, "Searchers comb the woods for a lost boy." The first story in the Pioneer regarding the case was written by then politics editor Brad Swenson. In the article, Swenson quoted that Beltrami County Sheriff Tom Tolman gave details on the initial search for Kevin. So what happened to Kevin Aoyt? It's a question that's haunted his family and law enforcement in northern Minnesota for decades. Kevin was only 3 years old when he and his family's dog disappeared from the home outside of Bemidji. The dog came back, but the little boy was never found. You need to visit the Beltrami County Sheriff's Office to speak to investigator Joe Kazix to find out what happened to 3-year-old Kevin. On September 30th, 1982, Kevin disappeared. Sheriff's Office has a case file on Kevin that contains thousands of items that goes back almost 35 years. "I think a lot about Kevin," says the investigator. "I wonder where he's at. I wondered what happened to him, because it's a mystery. It's truly unexplainable to law enforcement what happened to him." To learn more about Kevin Aoyt's disappearance, we stopped by the A.C. Clark Library at Bemidji. There are old editions of the Bemidji Pioneer newspaper on microfilm. The search was big news, and it would make headlines for more than a week. Kevin was a nonverbal little boy. Lived with his mother and 3 brothers, 18 miles outside of Bemidji. Kevin was 3.5 years old. He was a little boy from the east side of Sugarbush Township. It's a rural area, a safe place with lots of woods, but there are bogs, a river, and a lake nearby. Nobody noticed Kevin leave the house. It wasn't out of the norm. Kevin had walked away several times, wandered around the property, and he usually was found pretty quickly. The dog was gone as well. Newspaper reports show the search expanded quickly. The next morning, there was a massive ground search for Kevin. The community came together. 500 people showed up to help. A town that only had 121 people. But 500 people showed up to find this little boy and still was not able to find him. That's crazy, right? Sheriff's office had help from the Minnesota State Patrol. They had a helicopter and a fixed-wing airplane in the air. Deputies were in canoes in the rivers nearby. The FBI and the BCA were involved. They interviewed neighbors and talked to no sex offenders, but nothing. Then, the investigator says there was a ray of hope. On August 5th, the dog showed back up, but no Kevin, just the dog. The aoyt family Springer Spaniel named Flash came home. The dog's coat was carefully combed, looking for clues at where it had been. Veterinarians also pumped its stomach. They were able to determine that the only thing that had eaten in the last few days was swamp grass. Articles in the Pioneer showed that police then put a tracking collar on the dog. They took it to different places and released it, hoping it would go for Kevin. But it ran home every time. The family, police, and searchers grew frustrated. After 9 days, there was no sign of him. Years have passed. Tips came in that took investigators from the Beltrami County Sheriff's Office from coast to coast. Kevin's picture was seen on milk cartons. It's been 35 years since Kevin disappeared, and that's 35 years where the family doesn't know where their boy is. There's no clear answer of what happened to Kevin. As investigator Joe Kletzk, Kleszczyk, in case you're wondering why I'm having a hard time pronouncing it, scrolls through Kevin's case file on a computer screen in his office, he asks that we make one thing very clear. We want people to know these cases are never forgotten. They're never cold. They're never closed. We've always had an investigator assigned to them. We always will until we find Kevin. You can reach Investigator Joe Kazix with the Beltrami County Sheriff's Office by calling 218-333-9111. Guys, that is probably one of the most honest articles that I've ever read. They just don't know what happened. They're not making accusations. They just don't know. But if you think of where it happened and you can just imagine what's out in those woods, out in those bogs, I'm sure, they had 500 people out there, planes, helicopters. They were probably dragging the closest area with, the closest water areas. It's a very, very strange case. And it's sad. The dog came back, had been eating swamp grass. I have one conclusion that's in my head. And I'm not going to say it's Dogman or Sasquatch because it could have been one or the other. But that little boy was abducted by something other than a human. And that is my belief and theory. And then this next case is even, I don't know if there's anything more disturbing than a 3-year-old little boy, but this case is just friggin' strange. And you can almost hear the lies coming from this article. Nader was reported missing October 13th, 2020, after he failed to arrive at a Thanksgiving dinner. His black 2016 Honda Civic was found in the Lightning Lake Deus area on E.C. Manning Provincial Park in British Columbia at the Frosty Mountain Trailhead. The case has caused plenty of controversy as friends and family believe that the search was called off too early. Even the Canadian Prime Minister became involved. Jordan's remains were finally located in Manning Park on Wednesday, July 7th, 2021, after some of his belongings were found by volunteer searchers on July 4th. The body was around 1.8 miles, or 3 kilometers away from the pack. The area had been thoroughly searched as a priority area by the search and rescue, but somehow his body had been missed during the initial SAR operation in October of 2020. The family believed that Jordan may have become disoriented in a storm that hit the area. Now, this news article is full of other stuff. And when they fill news articles up with stuff like what they're going to do in a second, makes me really believe the lies. I don't believe the lies, but makes me believe that they are lying, because why put in filler? Why not just share what the article is about? And this boy, 25 years old, missing in October of 2020, found July 4th, or July 7th, excuse me, in an area where they had been searching. I'll give you my thoughts on it after. Pardon the filler, though. Now, right up to where I ended, where it said, disoriented from a storm hitting the area. Here's the rest of the article. Background to Jordan Nader disappearance. Jordan was a Memorial University engineering alumni and recent graduate of the University of British Columbia. He was last seen leaving his downtown Vancouver apartment at Seymour and Nelson Street at 7 a.m., October 10th, 2020. It's believed he set out on a solo hike on Frosty Mountain Trail in Manning Provincial Park, but he didn't leave the trip planned. When he didn't show up for Thanksgiving dinner with friends 2 days later, the search began on October 13th. Jordan is 5'10", slim build, short brown hair. He was last seen wearing black pants and white running shoes, carrying a large olive green backpack. His bank card records indicated that he had bought a cup of coffee at the Manning Park Resort, giving the family verification where he had been before he vanished. He had purchased camping equipment and apparel sometime before, which gave the family detailed information like the tread type on his boots. E.C. Manning Provincial Park is a provincial park in British Columbia, Canada. It's usually referred to as Manning Park. It's about 160 miles or 200 kilometers east of Vancouver. The park covers 83,671 hectares, or whatever that is, or 323 square miles. And it lies along British Columbia Highway 3 and occupies a large amount of land between Hope and Princeton along Canada-United States border. The park was named in memory of Ernest Callaway Manning, Chief Forester of British Columbia in 1936 to 41, not to be confused with Ernest C. Manning, Premier of Alberta in 43 to 68. Manning was killed in an airplane incident in 41. During this time, Chief... I can't. What the fuck does this have to do with this missing boy? Nothing. It's fucking filler. And it keeps going about the park, why it's named with... Why not say the kid, the boy, man, he's 25, so he's a boy to me because I'm 45, went on a friggin' hike, last seen leaving his house on October 13th, 2020. bought a cup of coffee was the last time he was seen or used his card, and never was spotted until July 7th, 2021, when SAR teams investigating a possible lead searched the area that they had been in previously. But like, I'm literally here, 1 page, 2 page of bullshit. And then we get to literally it's a 4-page, I printed it out. It's a 4-page article. 4 paragraphs of it is about this poor kid and his family, you know. And that leads me to believe they're lying, because the last part that has anything to do with this is at the end of the 3rd page, going into the 4th, Jordan Nader remains found on July 2021. Jordan's remains were finally located in Manning Park Wednesday, July 7th, 2021, after RCMP in Princeton, British Columbia, went into the park following the discovery of items by search volunteers on the 4th of July. Jordan's backpack was found just 100 meters off the trail in the area that Vancouver Police Department first identified and searched prior. The body was around 1.8 miles or 3 kilometers away from the pack. They've already shared this information in this. Why so much fillers, and why so much repeating? You want to know why? It's because they don't know what happened. Well, I can tell you kind of what happened. Either a Sasquatch or a Dogman, or I don't even know, because I really am blown away by these other shit portal things that I don't know. But on this one, I'm thinking Dogman, Sasquatch, just like the little boy prior. But they probably, or whatever it was that got this guy, probably feasted and threw back a year later, 9 months later. And then they found it. Only explanation in my eyes. And the only explanation for the absolute BS filler in the article is because they want to distract the people, the public, us, with their lies and their manipulations, guys. Lies and manipulations. That's our government. That's Canada's government. That's the United States government. That's all government. They know how to play the game. They don't give a shit about us. They care about their money and their look. They're like what they look like to the public, what they look like to their friends, keeping up with the Joneses, who's got a better Mercedes, whose house is bigger, whose kid goes to Princeton and Harvard, Yale. That's all they care about. They don't care about me, you, anybody, except themselves. That's why they put the filler in, because it's a way of lying to us. Let's distract the people from the original case and move on. Because when the normal Joe is reading that, they're like, holy shit, I didn't know that. I didn't know this park was named after this Manning. I thought it was after this Manning. Who the fuck cares what Manning it was named after? Fucking dude's missing and dead and his family's suffering. Fucking conclusion is something killed the boy. I don't even know. Thank you. Thank you, our government and media, for caring so much about us. I feel blessed. Do you guys? I bet you do as well. Actually, I feel butthurt is what I do. I feel butthurt right now. Thank you. Thank you, media and the government, for making me feel butthurt. Because they know what's out there and they want to keep it a secret. Because it would cost tourist dollars. It would cost industry dollars. It would just cost dollars. And those dollars pay for their Mercedeses, pay for their fucking big houses, and pay for their kids to go to Princeton, Yale, Harvard. You know, freaking Chad and Karen wouldn't be able to go to Harvard if they knew about Dogman, Bigfoot, Gotta send Chad and Karen to Harvard and Yale. Shit. I don't even know. It's crazy. All I ask, guys, is to think about this. Think about it. Let's not be sheep anymore. We can't be sheep anymore. Because when we're sheep, we are prey at that point. We cannot be prey. We need to be predators. That's honestly the only way we're going to survive. We cannot believe the lies. We have to be safe. We have to be careful, but we have to be aware. And by being aware is by reading between the lines. Question everything, guys, because there's a lot more than we know that's out there. You and I both know it. Anyway, be safe. Be kind to each other. World's too crazy not to be. Farewell and see ya!